Okay, perfect. Well, we'll get started here. So, wanted to welcome everyone, those who are joining in person, and also those people who are watching the recording of this. My name is David Schefter. I'm a board member, and as we get started here, just want to give a little bit of a background on CRBS in terms of our organization, who we are, what we do, and kind of our background. So if I could get the slides back up.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. No problem. So the organization that's now known as the CRBS has been around in one form or another for well over 30 years at this point. It started out in the 1980s, actually by Genevieve's mother. And there is a timeline that's set up here. I'm reading from memory here. So there we go. There we go. The Retinoblastoma Family Association of Toronto, which was active in the 80s and 90s. And in the early part of this millennium, the scope was widened to a national audience and renamed the Canadian Retinoblastoma Society. Then the following year, officially incorporated, and then the year after became a registered charity. Now, the organization has gone through a number of ebbs and flows as different families become diagnosed, and as people grow and evolve within the community. In 2020, Genevieve, who is the president of the organization, she started serving, and myself, along with some other board members, came along in the year 2021. So over the last couple of years, a good deal of what we have been focused on is trying to add a little bit of institutional memory into the organization. So on the screen there, you see the board members, Genevieve as president, Jennifer as board chair. She's joining us as well this evening. Brian as secretary treasurer, who's been involved in one way or the other with the organization for many years. Natalia as a board member, and myself, David, as a board member. And a lot of what we've done over the last couple of years is really try and hone in on what our mission, vision, and the values that we're trying to put forward in the organization. And really what we see our goal as is providing education and advocacy and peer support to Canadians who are touched by retinoblastoma. Not only people who have received a diagnosis, but their families as well. In addition, clinicians, counselors, various people who touch patients and their families through the years. And what we want to be is really a supportive and safe community for everyone who's touched by retinoblastoma or RB across the country. Again, traditionally, our activities have, just by virtue of the location of Sick Kids, been focused typically in Toronto and the GTA. But we do have a national focus. And one of our goals is expanding our presence across the country. In terms of the values that we want to project, we kind of see this in terms of the acronym REACT, and that is relevance, empowerment, accessibility, community-oriented, and trust. We believe that our programming should be relevant and have an impact on the community. And so we seek to sort of measure any activities and programming that we're putting together against that metric. We want to enable members of the community to act and be advocates for themselves. So the three pillars of kind of what we do are education, advocacy, and peer support. I'll go through each of those fairly quickly here. So in terms of education is when you enter into the world of RB, there's a whole lot of terminology, a lot of medical concepts, which most people who are newly diagnosed and their families, they're not familiar with. And it can feel overwhelming. And that is something that, you know, from our perspective, we want to encourage people and let them know that they're not alone. We want to give valid information on research, treatment options, provide resources, and really help people understand the diagnosis, help understand the disease and the various options that are available to treat it. In terms of advocacy, Really, the most important component of advocacy from our perspective is helping patients and their families be able to advocate for themselves and really empowering them to do that. And part of that is providing resources within the community, including what services that they might benefit from, and really increase awareness within the broader community as to what RB is, and really just helping people who have and are living with RB be able to have the most fulfilling life. And last but certainly not least, and I would probably argue, this is really the core of what CRBS has been and is likely to continue to be, and that is peer support, because there's really no other organization anywhere that does peer support the way that our organization does. And really, when you or a loved one receives a diagnosis, the most important thing, besides learning, about the nature of what the disease is trying to understand what's going to happen, speaking to somebody else who's been there, either lived experience or say a loved one who has lived experience of being a support to somebody who's received a diagnosis. And so we run events across the country and generally provide a supportive community to help people really receive that support, not just from medical professionals, but from people who've been in a similar situation. And that's really what we, the core of what we do. To that end, we have a reasonably busy schedule throughout the year. We've already had a caregivers roundtable, which we held virtually. We have our AGM and the information session here this evening. Towards the end of next month, we have another virtual gathering. And our sort of marquee in-person event, which is the family picnic, to be held in Mississauga, June 3rd. Very excited about that. We encourage everybody to come out if you're able. And we're planning towards the end of September, a survivor gathering, which also stands to be an excellent event. Lots of different ways to get involved in the organization. You can visit the website as a starting point. We're also on social media, active on both Facebook and Instagram. But absolutely participate in events. We have lots of opportunities to get involved, and we certainly encourage you to do so. We're introducing the concept of a provincial ambassador. We're looking for volunteers in that regard. So there's lots of ways to kind of scale the way that you can get involved depending on your interest and the time that you have available. So we certainly welcome that. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to either myself or anybody else on the board here, and we'd be happy to assist. Okay.
Okay, so then we're going to move into our volunteer information session to give folks an idea of what we're hoping to start up with CRBS and what kind of support we're looking for from the community. So there's a couple of ways you can get involved. We have a couple of working groups which are focused on different areas that we noticed that our agency requires some support in. So there's one that's called programming and events, and we'll go through them individually in a minute. We've got a fundraising working group, an outreach working group, as well as a governance and finance working group. And then there are two more ways that you can become involved, one being our one-on-one peer support network, as well as our provincial ambassador program. So I'll go through each working group briefly just to give everybody an idea of what that would look like and what the commitment is. So the first one is our programming and events group, and the co-chairs for this particular working group are Genevieve and myself. So really for this one, what we're looking for is for the community members to help us brainstorm ideas of programs and events that the community might be interested in, and that would include reaching out to some community members and the community in general to find out what kind of events and what kind of programs people would like to see more of. Beyond that, we're also looking for some support in organizing and planning the events, as well as sort of running them when we have them going on. And the commitment for this would be a meeting once a month so that we can set up some things throughout the year. Our next working group is our fundraising working group, and this one is run by Jennifer Bacca. She is really pivotal in our fundraising sort of knowledge pool. And so really you would be working with Jennifer to help develop a fundraising strategy and connecting with fundraisers and donors just to keep communication going, and always looking for ways that we can put together proposals and grants so that we can run the programs and events and support the families that we would like to. And in terms of a commitment, again, it's about once a month, there would be meetings to set up for the year. Our next working group, we call it outreach, and it's sort of like a catch-all in terms of how you can imagine communications coming and going from CRBS. Part of this would be putting together some promotional materials for our CRBS events and helping kind of put them out to social media, communication with CRBS community about some of our meetings and initiatives, as well as being part of some community inquiries on social media. So really helping us get information out, figure out how to get the information out in a way that's appealing and accessible to people, as well as bring information in. And again, this would be a monthly meeting, and the co-chairs would be to be determined. We'd kind of probably all work on this one together. And then our last working group is governance and finance, and we have two co-chairs for this one, David Schefter and Jennifer Baca. This one is really focusing on developing and maintaining annual budgets for the year, so we can really do what we'd like to do for the community. What's really important too is to maintain and edit and update our bylaws. It really helps us run in a really cohesive way and have an understanding of where we're working from, so we can be really targeted in our actions, as well as supporting some of our board members and volunteer recruitment. And so really making sure that our board stays fresh, and that if we have new folks that are interested in becoming part of the board, that we can have a program to get people in and working with us. So this one would also be, this one is more of a quarterly commitment, so that we can just maintain things, but not monthly like the others. So those would be our working groups. And Genevieve is going to move into our last two programs as part of our volunteer program.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. It's been great seeing and hearing from members of our team. And I would like to chat a little bit about the one-to-one peer support network that, as David mentioned, really is the heart and soul of this organization in terms of the number of connections that we've established. And I think the real reason that people are coming back to. Yes, Brian is sending out the hello. Welcome, Kelter. Thanks for joining us. And so this one-to-one peer network really is looking for individuals to reach out to the retinoblastoma community and inform others about this opportunity, make sure that anybody who we feel may benefit from connecting with others will be put in touch with us in order to benefit from being matched with somebody who may be in a similar situation or in a similar location where they might be able to connect with each other. So that's moving into our next point, that they would be available to be connected with and share experience with other individuals who might be impacted by similar situations. We'd ask that this person be interested in attending our virtual and in-person gatherings as they're available, providing ongoing check-ins with their peers throughout their retinoblastoma journey. I think we understand as a group that the needs can change throughout someone's retinoblastoma experience. And so maybe there are times that they might benefit from this peer support network checking in again to see how things are going. And then there might be times when they don't really need ongoing communication. Pardon me. We also want to be supporting the growth of the charity and the membership by identifying individuals who might be interested in doing more within our organization or within the greater retinoblastoma community. And then again, of course, we would be providing some training and insight around how to effectively provide empathy and understanding and communicating with others in challenging and traumatic situations. We are are very lucky to have our social worker on our board. Natalia is, a wealth of knowledge in terms of providing these types of supports. And of course, all of us have our own firsthand experiences, and we can learn from each other in terms of providing the best type of platform for another family to share their experiences. And then, of course, one of the things we want to leave our families with when we're working with them is their ability to learn advocacy skills, self-care, and looking for signs that maybe there are challenges going on at home, and offering strategies that might have worked for you in the past, or that might just you've heard of from someone else. Even, for example, last time we got together at our survivor meeting, we were able to share the positive touch and infant massage video that we were able to capture from Morgan's presentation in the past. So that's just one of the many tools that we've been able to gather in our belt over the years that I think other families could benefit from as well, that these individuals in the peer support network would have access to. So kind of building upon that, we're looking now to introduce some provincial ambassadors that would help us really build our knowledge of the treating and hub centers across Canada for retinoblastoma. We know that many families are coming into Toronto and or going into Calgary, but we also know that kids are being treated in BC and Manitoba and PEI and New Brunswick. And so we want to know where those things are happening and make sure that we make those families aware that we're there for them, and that there is a greater group that is available to them if they would like to reach out with us and be connected. And of course, then that would allow for us to have more clinicians in our back pocket in terms of ocularists and maybe optometrists or other professionals that some of our population may need throughout their journey. This gives us a chance to liaison between different families that have come from different provinces and survivors. So we would love for these provincial ambassadors to really help us learn more about where our community lives and whom wants to access our services. And again, research and promote local opportunities. If there is a smaller initiative within a different province than Ontario, of course, we want to be aware of it. And we want to be able to make other bigger community aware of what's going on in smaller provinces, as we want to celebrate each other's successes. So that might include, subsidies and camps, clinics that are available, maybe just information sessions that could be virtual, even if they're conducted in a different province or different countries. It's opportunities that we could find out about them by doing more research and putting ourselves out there. And then, of course, we would love for events to be held in other provinces. So the majority of our group, as David has said, has hosted events in Toronto or in the Ontario area. So if there are individuals who are interested in hosting an event within their own community or within their own province, as we had a few years ago, I think it was 2019, that Alberta hosted a RB Family Day in Calgary, and we had a couple of RB moms step up to really put that event together and host a bunch of families for a fantastic fun day. So we'd love to see that happen again, or in a different province if possible. So if we have provincial ambassadors that might be interested, or we have people who are keen on supporting and reaching out to other peers, please be in touch with us, and we would love to go through a little bit of training and some intake, learn a little bit more about your demographics and your own experiences, so that we can properly connect you with the right families who you would benefit from connecting and learning from each other. So I think that kind of wraps up the volunteer portion and the general meeting aspect. We appreciate, all the opportunities we have to connect with our community. And I hope that we'll have some more individuals review this video and get a feel for what we're looking for in terms of our volunteer opportunities, and kind of a little more about what CRBS is looking to do in 2023. And our next virtual event will be at the end of April. We haven't exactly decided on our topic yet, but we are open to ideas. So if there are topics of interest from within the group, please feel free to let us know. And of course, we are happy to accommodate any preferred information or research for you, some things that you might be curious on. So we're looking forward to that next event. And of course, keeping on your calendars and in the back of your mind, our in-person events in June 3rd, we'll be meeting in Mississauga. And then we're going to try again to meet in September. So we'll look forward to seeing you and meeting and sharing some bread at our picnic in June. Okay, well, I think that's